Chakradev, Jam Masters. Going to talk about a subject I don't think I've ever talked about. It's a sensitive subject, but we're going to talk about it. Prayer. But I'm not going to talk about prayer from a religious point of view. Talk about prayer from a yogic point of view, from a point of view of truth. Somebody asked me the other night, a few weeks ago, somebody who had a child that was sick, very sick. He honestly asked, does prayer work? Christian people, different faiths are offering to pray and send out energy and light and so on. Does that actually do anything? And I said, of course it does. But let's talk about this. You willing to? Just put aside your mind for a moment. I like to go to the root. So let's start with, what are you praying for? And why are you praying? So, for example, I'm told you have somewhere around, 23 trillion cells within your body. And each one of them, every moment, is doing something. They're dividing, they're eating, they're excreting, they're metabolizing, they're absorbing, they're doing some things, each one of them. In addition, they're communicating to each other. All the cells that make up the liver act together. Your muscle cells contract and expand at the same time, otherwise it breaks. Right? They're literally communicating. They communicate. The whole system communicates to each other, and the organs talk to each other, and the brain guides out. You got a lot of stuff going on in there. When was the last time you prayed to have it happen? When was the last time you asked your liver cell to excrete bile? It's pretty important that they do these things, is it not? Why are you not praying to have them happen? If one cell goes rogue, we have a name for it, don't we? Cancer. That's pretty tough stuff. You don't want that. So why are you not praying for this? It's more important than your house. Which is more important, that you got to raise or that your cells talk to each other? It's not even close. Not even close in any way, shape, or form. Yet I don't see you praying for that. So there's a first clue on praying. You do care, don't you? But somehow, you don't have to think about it, do you? How's that? It's a pretty important thing. Seems to know how to take care of itself, doesn't it? Like, there are things that you can do to help it. You can stop smoking. You stop drinking. You stop doing drugs. You stop getting all anxious. In other words, you can hurt it and stop hurting it, but not much you can do to help it. Even when you talk about a healthy diet, in other words, you're going to stop hurting it. I'm going to eat and live my life, meditate, whatever it is you do to keep stress down. I'm going to do things to where I stop screwing it up. Like somehow it knows what to do, doesn't it? If you left it alone, and you in there, the one I was talking about, you in there? You in there. That's what I'm talking to. Okay? You ain't doing squat to make that thing happen. But you do lots to mess it up, don't you? Why would you mess it up? We'll get to the bottom line very quickly. Because it's okay, you're not okay. You in there. Not okay. That's why you drink. That's why you do drugs. That's why you get anxious. That's why you worry. You got issues in there, don't you? Those have nothing to do with those poor little cells that are working their little butts off to take care of you and give you a nice body and be healthy and let your arms move. So basically, this is where you get down to, by the time we're done, we're going to keep bringing it back. What has this got to do with prayer? Pretty interesting, isn't it? You don't have to pray to make those things happen. The only thing you can do, you better pray so that you don't screw it up. Oh, Lord, please give me the strength not to drink. Whoa, that's interesting. And by the time I'm done, you're going to find out that's all you pray for. Okay? You pray because you're not okay. And you can't let things be whole, healthy, in balance, in harmony, the way they were meant to be. Why? Because you're not okay. So you do things to try and make yourself be okay, but it's all already okay. I just talked about these cells in your body. You're not praying for them. They're pretty important. What about the orbit of the planets? One planet goes out of orbit. Bye-bye. You go into the sun, you fall out. That's not even go that big. Somehow there's this force. It's called gravity. Ever heard of it? What do you got to do with it? Nothing. It's just there, right? How important is that force to your life? Can we start listing what would happen? Goodbye! You float over into space. Everything will fall apart. And it's just, don't even think about it. If gravity was just a fraction stronger than it is, it's a force. Okay? What is it? I forgot, 32 feet per second squared or something like that. It's something like that, okay? That's how they measure the force of gravity, the pull that it has. If it was stronger, you can't walk. Your cells can't work. Do you understand that? You are completely in the environment that gravity has created for you, and if it was stronger or weaker, everything changes. And I mean by the slightest fraction. Well, why talk about gravity? Ever heard of an electron? Who's ever heard of an electron? Well, electrons are pretty important. What would happen if you took them away? Forget it. There are no cells. There's no anything, is there? Nothing. There's just nothing at all. Actually, in the new book, I gave an example. There is such a thing as no electrons. There is a thing in this universe that has no electrons. It's called a neutron star. By the time a really big star collapses, fully collapses, all right, the gravitational pull of the collapse is so strong that it crushes the electrons into the nucleus. They're not out there orbiting anymore. They're not surrounding the nucleus. The force was so strong that it broke the nuclear wall and electrons fell into it, and therefore positive protons and negative electrons bonded together into a neutron. Then there's nothing but neutrons. In that object, in that core of that star, so it's called a neutron star, there are no atoms. The atoms are broken. They're gone. Whoa. It's pretty far out, isn't it? All right? That happens when big stars die. But net result is, it's pretty important that the electron exists, not just exist, that it be exactly the charge. Every electron is the same charge. That it be exactly the charge that it is, so that it balances with the neutrons and protons and gets just the right distance from the nucleus and makes the atoms. Otherwise, it all falls apart. When's the last time you prayed for that charge to stay the same? I hope you get my point. There are 700 trillion things that are going on that are way more important than whether you get a new house, or whether you can lose some weight, or whether you don't get wrinkles when you age, or somehow you pray for a very specific type of thing, and you miss the big stuff. Now, first let's start with why do we miss the big stuff? Because I don't care if, you know me, I have no problem with atheists. Like, I love God, I'm very close to God. It's all I think about all the time, but I don't care if anybody else does. I think an atheist can be a very, very spiritual thing, a very good thing. Why? Because even an atheist believes in God. Why? They believe the electrons will take care of everything and their cells will divide. What are they giving that force to? They're not sitting there saying there ain't nothing out there. There's some, I don't know, you have to give it a name, right? But there's something taking care of everything. You're sitting on a planet, aren't you? That's rather nice. It's not all there is, the planet. I know we're having trouble with it and we should work with it and so on, but the planet, I always tell you, because I want you to remember it all the time, I do, 1.3 million planet Earths fit inside the sun. That's how you're worrying about what? 1.3 million Earths fit in the sun. Well, the sun's big? No. There's 300 billion suns in your galaxy, and there's 2 trillion galaxies. Now, what do you want to pray for? I kind of think it's taking care of itself. What do you think? In the realm of things, if you really look seriously, so you go down to the microcosm, it totally takes care of itself, but that's what everything's made out of, the microcosm, all the atoms put together. It's so big, I can't even talk about it. I hope you're listening to me. I hope you're not thinking, yeah, but what do I have for lunch? You have a mind. I don't want to talk about what you use it for, all right? But it has the ability to do this, doesn't it? Every one of you can do this. This is called reality. So when you go down to the bottom microcosm of everything, it all takes care of itself, and what it takes care of is really important, like it makes everything. When it's not like God created the heavens and earth. Down at the quantum field, the quarks, leptons, and boson subatomic particles that are popping out of the light field are happening constantly. If they don't, it just collapses. It's not like at one point it got made and here you got it. It's being made every single nanosecond, isn't it? What is? Everything that puts it together. If you were to look down into your body, you'd find cells. If you look down into the cells, you'd find atoms. If you look down into the atoms, you'd find electrons and protons. Look down electron, neutron, and protons, you find quarks, leptons, and bosons. Do you know that? 2 up quarks and a down quark make a proton. These tiny little nothings, and they get put together down there constantly. It doesn't ever stop. And you have nothing to do with it, yet it's the most important thing in your entire life, every billionth of a second of your life. Why are you not praying for it? Because you're a being of great faith. You are of tremendous faith. You understand that if one electron didn't behave right or one cell didn't the right thing, you're gone, man. It's over. All is gone. It's all over. And yet your faith is so deep that you don't even bother thinking about it, ever. If I don't talk about it, you ain't never thinking about it. How you like that? See, I'm giving you some credit here. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? It's all mind. Your mind is willing to accept all of that without even ever thinking about it. How is that not faith? How is that not belief? How is that not trust? How is that not all the spiritual words? You give them all the time to everything. You never think about it. Okay. And you never pray about it. That's the microcosm, and I gave you the macrocosm, trillions of galaxies. This planet, I worked with the university. They had a whole program to look for exoplanets, and I was able to help with some of that. Got to know the astrophysicists and work with them. It was really beautiful. They're finding out now that there's tons of exoplanets. They like, maybe billions within our galaxy. Some could be like the Earth, but it's so small, and your galaxy is tiny. 2 trillion is a very big number. I told you once, 300 billion stars in your galaxy. I gave you an idea what 300 billion meant. Sit in the corner. You're the representative. You're going to do it. Sit in the corner and count to 300 billion 1 second at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right? How long would it take you to get to 300 billion? All right? 95 lifetimes of 100 years each. There. Now I guess how many stars are out in your galaxy? And not one of you. I talk fast. You told me I talk fast. But even I can't talk fast enough to say, I'm going to 300 billion, 243 billion, 615 million, 100,000. I can't do that in a second. So it's going to take you way longer. Even if you get 95 lifetimes, you ain't going to do it. That's one galaxy. There are 2 trillion of them. If it took you that long to count to 300 billion, what about 2 trillion? Are you getting an idea of how big this is? And all of it is in balance and harmony with each other. Oh my God. And you never think about it. You never think, ooh, I have a little pimple on my forehead, a little spot on my forehead. My God, what's wrong with us? In fact, oh, please don't have it be there when I go to the prom. Please, I pray God, I'll be good. It's pretty weird, is it not? Come on, let's get down to it. So basically, the universe is taking care of itself. How long has it been doing it? For 13.8 billion years, as far as we can tell. It's just been doing its thing, and you ended up here out of its thing. I love that section in the new book that tells where you came from, where your atoms came from. Literally, your body's made of atoms. Where'd they come from? You had nothing to do with it. Nothing. Yet it's the most important thing in your life, isn't it? And you don't pray for it, you don't ask for it, you don't do anything. All right. So then what do we pray for? But I don't want to leave that. I hate leaving that conversation. I got you paying attention. That's a lot of stuff going on, and you just kind of like let it be, like the Beatles, right? Just let it be. It's doing fine by itself, isn't it? Does it do fine by itself in general? Doesn't mean it's perfect. Something can go out of balance. But in general, for the 2 trillion galaxies and the things in the whole Earth and everybody, there's 7.5 billion bodies on the Earth right now, and all of them have 2.3 trillion cells. I said this the other day and people's eyebrows went up, right? I said, do you know easily that 99.9, I said 9, but really 99.999% of the time, bodies are totally healthy. Take 7.5 billion of them, take every moment of their lives and figure out how sick, how often happens. Forget death, that's a separate issue. All right? But just in general, these things do pretty good, don't they? 99.99% of the time, if you took all the bodies every time, at all ages and everything, they're doing just fine. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And you're willing to let that happen. I think that's very big of you. That's very neat of you. Very intelligent of you. And what I would like you to do is pay attention to all that you're willing to let go on, how important it is. And now let's start talking about what you're not willing to let go on. Because it's pretty small. Isn't it? That's pretty big stuff. Macrocosm or macrocosm. Now we're going to go to your little head. We're going to go to that over. Everybody's just doing it. It just, you live inside your mind. You don't live here. You live inside your mind. That's where your consciousness is absorbed. It's absorbed into, do you like it? Do I not like it? What do I want? What do I not want? Do I feel good? What happened to me yesterday? Was that supposed to happen to me yesterday? Yes or no? Anybody not? That's where you live. Because you are the consciousness. You're the awareness of being. What are you aware of most? Your mind. It's talky, yucky all the time, judging everything. I like it, I don't like it. She shouldn't have done that. Why she's in there? Oh my gosh. That's what it's doing. And that's where you live. That's why you have issues. Somehow you don't have issues with all the rest. That's unbelievable. All the rest. All the rest is 99.99999999999 raised to the 1 billionth power. That's what all the rest is. And you're down to this tiny, infinitesimal, oh my God. How small is your mind compared to the universe? Everyone's got one. You know, it's like a hand. I got a hand. How small is that compared to the universe? That's pretty funny. I have a mind. It talks. It's got thoughts. And I live there. You live there. That's where you live. You made your world so small. A moment ago, I forced you to use your mind, because you have a very great mind. You can do all kinds of beautiful, amazing things, including what we just talked about. I'm going to take a possum, put it in here, and see if it understood what I was talking about. It didn't. Even a dolphin probably wouldn't, all right? So you are the species that have a mind that's so brilliant, you just sit here and you understand every single thing I said. You grok it. You got it. What are you doing with that mind that's capable of thinking like that? You're making it so small. It's like an ingrown toenail. You make it so small. It's, oh my God, it's so tiny. And what does it think about? Me. What I like, what I don't like, what I want, what I believe should happen, what are my beliefs, my hopes, my dreams, my values, right? That's what you think about. Yours, you, my kids, I think about my spouse. Oh, I had the word my there. Oh, careful. You only think about somebody else's spouse if you like them or don't like them, or it's still you. That's all that mind thinks about. It's called the personal mind, isn't it? That's the personal mind. Your mind is not personal. Your mind is a place that thoughts can be created. Again, I go through that in great detail in the new book. Do you have any thoughts you want? Think of a boat. A boat. Think of a car. There's a car. Yeah, I made you think of the universe. I made you think of galaxies. Think of a galaxy. Whoa. It can do anything. It can have any thought you want. Anything. And what do you think about with your mind? Me. Ramakrishna said, I, me, mine. And guess what? I didn't realize that. I was a Beatles fan growing up. Of course I was. Still am. I didn't realize, because I could never understand what they were saying. They wrote a song. I, me, mine, I, me, mine. Is that what it is? Isn't that amazing? Ramakrishna literally said it's all about I, me, mine. And the Beatles came and wrote a song. Check it out. That's a pretty neat song. Look up what the words mean. It's going on all the time. That's all it is. I, me, mine, I, me, mine. Oh, that's what this mind is doing. If you dare, you want to do witness consciousness? No, you don't. You're going to get scared. How do you know you're in witness consciousness? How do you feel a little sick to your stomach pretty quickly? If you are honestly looking at what that thing is doing, it's only about you. Is it going to rain today? It better not rain today. That alone, can I please? You might even pray. Oh, please, Lord, don't have it rain today. I'm going camping. I'm not telling you not to do it, and we'll talk about in a moment what it's all about. But you do pray for stuff like that, okay? In other words, I, me, mine. That's what you want to do with God, the entire universe, that force that's creating and sustaining every single thing that is. Please don't make it rain. I'm having a party outside. Please. Are you getting my drift? Pretty small, isn't it? I mean, well, I don't even think an electron microscope could pay attention to how small that is. That's where we're caught. That's where we're caught. And by the way, that's why we have to pray. I'm not talking against prayer. Don't do that. I'm talking against what you do. I just showed you. You don't have to pray for everything. It's like, my God, the things you don't have to pray for that you're willing to let happen all the time without praying or doing anything or even thinking of them. You don't have to do anything. My God, what is that all about? That's unbelievable. But you're going to pray that it doesn't rain on your birthday? Or you pray you get the raise? Can I have the corner office? I always wanted to have the corner office. Why should he get the corner office? I want the corner office. There's the rub. That's a problem. That your mind can think of everything and all you think of is you. And that's why you pray. And if you will check out what you're praying for, in general, I think it's nice when people pray for somebody else's kid for health, and we'll get there in a minute. I'm going to get there, because it does work. But let's just be honest. We're having a real honest discussion. Why do you have to pray? Because you don't pay attention that you don't have to, that everything is happening beautifully and perfectly. It's unbelievable, isn't it? The perfection of the universe. I mean, I can't help it. The scientists got down to the quantum field. I don't care if you know physics or don't know physics. It doesn't interest me in any shape or form. What did they find? There are no atoms. There are no electrons, neutrons, or protons. There aren't even quarks, leptons, and bosons. Those are subatomic quantum particles. There's just a field of light under there, a field of energy. And somehow waves and particles are popping off of each other, the same thing. They call that the duality of whether light's a particle or light's a wave. I don't want to get into it. But it just throws off particles in its waves, and they're the same thing. But those particles will make up electrons, neutrons, and protons. They will make up your entire thing. So there's nothing down there but a field of light. Spirituality used to say that, didn't they? There's nothing down there but God, nothing down there but pure light consciousness. And basically, that's what's going on, and it is perfect, and it's all taking care of itself. The level of perfection is unbelievable. But what happened is you developed a mind that doesn't equally contemplate reality or truth in any way, shape, or form. It just contemplates itself. Why did it do that? Why did you do that? You could just wake up in the morning. It's glorious. That's all it is. The sun is coming up. Someone told me that the other day, that a rabbi called everyone together, all excited, very high being, a Rebbe, called all his disciples together. Oh my God, I have a tremendous announcement. Something unbelievable happened. I need to tell you, come together. They all came together, and he said, the sun came up this morning. It is amazing if you stop and look at what's going on. So you have the right to do that, but you don't. What you do is limit your thoughts to yourself. And then it becomes difficult. Of course it becomes difficult. You're fitting inside of this little box. Inside the tiny little box, everything matters. Like if I lock you in a room, all of a sudden everything in the room takes on all meaning, doesn't it? Because your consciousness is only aware of that. That's why you're having these problems. You're not having problems. You're thinking you're having problems. There's a beautiful line in the new book. Gopher said it was her favorite too, which was, the moment in front of you is not bothering you. You are bothering yourself about the moment in front of you. Here and they're saying, why does it have to be driving so slow? I'm in a rush. This is ridiculous. This is way below speed. Why does it have to rain today? I don't want it to rain. How's it going to go right? It's just the moment's unfolding. You're deciding to bother yourself about it. Why do you bother yourself about one moment or not another? She's not bothering herself about the moment you're bothering yourself about. You have gotten into the habit of developing thoughts about yourself. And then those are all that matter. That's all you pray about. Your whole relationship with God is, I want this, I don't want this. Help me. So basically you come down to what's going on. What's going on? And again, the book goes in great detail. The book starts with empty mind and builds yours from scratch. And don't say, how could he build mine? Because they're all the same. Seen one, seen them all. Right? I mean, okay, it's a hand, all right? Yes, you're a little thinner, a little. It's the same thing. What do you mean it's the same thing? What has happened to you is over the course of your life, you've had experiences. Well, you should say thank you. Would you rather not have experiences? Would you rather be floating through empty space where there's nothing? Because that's what almost everything is, empty space. So you got to have experiences. But you in there, the consciousness, the indwelling being, didn't like some of them. Some of them didn't feel good. It was uncomfortable, or it was really comfortable. And you started to do it. Again, the book goes in great detail. I'm not going to do it. You started to resist some things and cling to others. You do that, don't you? Don't you push things away and resist them? I don't want this. I don't like what he said to me. It bothers you for a long time. You push it away. Or I really, really like it. I want it to happen again. Where is it? I can't find it. And so you build a mind, a personal mind, out of those things. Now, if you understand that, I've done my job. Are you willing to understand that? Yes. That's what you did. Your mind can think anything, but it doesn't. You stored these things that you didn't like all the way from your childhood, and then you held them in your mind. You hold the experiences that you didn't like in your mind. You do. If somebody says something that reminds you of your mother, you didn't like your mother, all of a sudden you get all upset. So you see all the time, you do it all the time. You remember things that bothered you, don't you? Your dreams, everything. You stored that stuff inside of you. And then you also stored inside the things you didn't want to let go of because you liked them. So now those are the building blocks that built the personal mind, the ego, and everything Freud talked about. That's the personal mind. So basically each one of those things you stored in there, and you stored it through will. You have will. Remember the Bible says you have free will? You do have free will. The free will you have is inside. That's where you live. You live inside. Your consciousness is aware, and you have this power called will. And you have the ability to push away an event that took place and came inside. I don't like it. For it calls suppression or repression. There's something even lighter than suppression or repression. Resistance. You don't have to go down to psychological suppression or repression. Those are psychological terms. I'm not a psychologist. I don't want to use them. The very fact that you used your will to resist what he said, to resist the fact that it's raining, you can have a disturbing experience. I'm so embarrassed to talk about this. I love you. I don't want to dish you. Any one of you can have a disturbed experience because it rained when you had your wedding outside 15 years ago. Or because of any other stupid thing. You're going to your prom in high school. High school's a really terrible time. You're going to your prom in high school and you spilled something on your dress or suit before you went there, and there it is. And like, oh my God, you'll never forget it ever. Whatever you spilled, you'll never touch it again. Those pants, you'll never wear them again. The dress, I want to think about it. Come on, be real with me. You make a mess out of this thing, don't you? All right? So you store these things that bothered you, and you store these things that you really liked. And you hold on to them. Each one of those things you stored, I want you to see it. You made a brick for building a house inside yourself called your self-concept, your way of thinking. It all determines your way of thinking, doesn't it? Isn't it amazing? So your past experiences that you couldn't handle, you stored inside this mind that could do anything, but now it's only doing that. That's what it does. If you leave it alone, check out when you're driving, taking a shower, just check out what your mind's doing. As I did on Tether Soul, I made you look at that with a magnifying glass, right? And you saw I was doing that stuff, wasn't it? It was making a mess because you stored that inside and it's trying to release. And so it always talks like that. And so now your consciousness is completely fixated on your personal mind. That's why you pray. That's why you pray for that, because that matters to you. It was uncomfortable to you. Please don't have it happen again. It was comfortable to you. Please, can I have this happen again? Every single thing is about the fact that you're not okay in there. Well, why am I not okay in here? Why did God make me not okay? God did not make you not okay. You made you not okay. You were given free will. Look what you did. If you store every single thing that ever bothered you throughout your life inside of you, you're going to be bothered. If you store everything that was disturbing inside, then it's going to be disturbed in there. And that is the only reason it's disturbed in there. You don't know that, do you? No, it's disturbed in there because my wife left me. No. That happened. I'm sorry. Whatever, it's an experience. We have experience. We have compassion. We understand. We all can help each other. Of course we should. Well, of course we should. You're not cold or not caring, right? The trouble is, it's not happening now. It happened 15 years ago. I can't help you with that. The other one who decided to store it inside after it was over. Yes, there are times in life that are difficult to deal with. We grow from them, we learn from them, whatever it is, we go through them. We can do better with that too, but I don't want to talk about that today. I want to talk about the obvious one. At some point, it's over. Your arm is still not broken. Your parents aren't still getting divorced when you're a child. It's not happening anymore. So why is it still bothering you? Because you decided to store it inside. And if you store all these things inside you that bothered you, I am telling you, you're going to be bothered. That's just the way it works. The example I give in the book is go out for dinner, and sometimes it doesn't work real well. You get a little sick, it's good, whatever it is. So if you get really good and sick while you're eating it, I want you to ask for a doggy bag. Take it home and store it in a special room so that you never forget how sick you got. I want you to go in every morning, take a little taste of the different things, and remember how bad it was. Would you do that? Which one of you will do that? You would never, ever do that, but you do that with experiences. Don't you? You store every one of them. Here's my favorite. Ready? I can't believe you did that to me. I will never forgive you. I'll never forgive you. I will suffer every day of my life because you did that. And I'll never forget how much pain you caused me. Okay, that's really intelligent. So basically you come down to realize you did this. God did not do this. This is not the nature of the universe. The universe is pretty perfect everywhere. That's why I spent all that time going in both directions, from the microcosm to the macrocosm. But your mind's not. But you did that. Your mind is very perfect. It thought of the galaxies. How nice was it to think about that? Wasn't it nice to let go of your stupid thoughts, think about something big and something small and see the perfection of everything? It's always that way. Who said you can't be thinking about that instead of thinking about, some stupid thing? But the truth is, this is what you did. And this is the problem. So now you have built this personal mind. It's the personal mind because they're about your personal experiences and what you did with them. Hers are different. Mine are different. Everyone's different. Very, very different. You understand that? Oh, I could go so many places from here. So now I made a complete mess of my mind. I'm telling you, a complete mess of my mind. So now what happens? Now I can't be happy naturally. Was I meant to be happy? You were meant to be way beyond happy. Where Buddha win, you should exist into nirvana. You're going to understand there's a river of joy that's flowing inside of you at all times. Go there, get in, drown. It's always, I guarantee you, and you felt it, you felt high, you felt beauty inside yourself every once in a while. When things match what you want. You get what you want? Woo! You don't get what you want? It's all based on this personal mind. But there is inside of you, and then we're going to get down to real prayer, meaning, there's inside of you a tremendous power of energy flowing up inside of you. Up, not down, up. It's always flowing up. It's always flowing up. It's pouring out the higher centers. Every single one of you. You're a being of light. You're a being of greatness, of energy. You'll feel it every second of your life. When you wake up in the morning, you're intoxicated. It's always inside of there. Well, why don't I feel it? Because you blocked this stuff inside your mind. That's why. Everything you stored in there that you couldn't handle is still in there, and it messes up your energy. So the answer isn't to pray to get what you want. The answer is to let go of how you messed it. Remember we said before, if you did drugs and you drank and you smoked and you did all kinds of crazy things, your body doesn't do so well. That's what you did with your mind. That's not the natural state of your mind. That's not the natural state of your energy flow. The natural state of your energy flow is ecstasy. Sat Chidananda, eternal conscious bliss. It really is. Those are not just words. That is your natural state. You feel it all the time until you close it, until you do something inside that messes it up. And you do something inside that messes it up all the time. All the time. The only time you feel happy is when you get what you want. That's when you feel happy. What did you say? You love me? I didn't hear you. Could you say it again? You have this pattern that you've built inside of yourself, and now when things match it, you open and you feel some energy. Not as much as I just talked about. Sometimes you do. First time you hold your first child, a wedding day, it can get pretty blissful in there. Okay, doesn't last very long. It isn't that the energy goes away. The energy is always there. It never stops flowing. It is always there. It is equally there at all times. The highest being that walked the face of the earth, you're as high as that. That's who you are, period. But you stored this stuff inside that blocks you. You stored it in your heart and you stored it in your mind. And so it's always hitting that stuff. That's why you have moods. That's every one of your moods is that. Is stuff's getting hit, and therefore you're happy yesterday, or you're happy before I said one word, now all of a sudden, what's weird? What did I do wrong? Not hard to get you upset, is it? Harder to get you open. But net result, that's what's going on. That's what's going on. So it is all perfect. Even that inside of you is perfect. Your psychological state is perfect. It's fine. In truth, there is no psychological state. The psychological state is the blockages you created with these stored, what does Skinner say? Man is the sum of his learned experiences. No, I am the consciousness that is stuck in the sum of my learned experiences. How about you? I can liberate myself, thank God. But your mind is the sum of your learned experiences, or at least your personal mind is the sum of your learned experiences. And so basically you stored those things inside of you, and that's why you have this psyche in there. Why would you have a self-concept? You are the self. You're the self. You're pure consciousness. You're the consciousness that you created the universe. You are the universe. But you are that consciousness staring at this cage of your mind. So that's why you have a self-concept. You developed it out of these thoughts that you collected. I like this kind of thing. I don't like that kind of thing. Well, I'm this and I'm that. I enjoyed this. And these are things that happened to me and I didn't. And you build a self-concept out of those bricks. You don't have to. But Ram Dass say, becoming nobody. These are deep, deep, deep states. What if you didn't do that? What if you didn't store that stuff in there? You would be filled with ecstasy all the time. All the time. Nothing to pray for. You're already there. It's totally open. You're filled with it. I'm telling you, you're capable of that state. So now that I've stored the stuff, I'm blocked to a greater or lesser degree. And what we do, humans do with their prayer, is to sit there and say, can I have what I want? Can I have what I need? Do I not have to have what I don't want? Even Christ in the garden, when he sits there and he sees the whole thing's going to happen to him. It came right before his eyes, the crucifixion, the mistreatment, everything. And he cried in the garden, remember? He said, may I pass this cup? Wow, that's the human. There it is. The moment he said, may I pass this cup, he immediately said, no, not my will, but thy will. I will never say another thing to make this not happen. And he never did. That's just amazing. Nothing. He just let it all happen because he let go. He was able to let go of his personal self. But that was the last prayer. May I pass this cup? No, I don't want to pass this cup. Let that which is meant to be, let it take place. Not my will, but thy will. Isn't that beautiful? That's beautiful. So basically, what you realize is the reason you pray that kind of prayer is because you're not okay. You're not okay because you blocked the natural energy that is God, that is the divine spirit flowing inside of you. But you blocked it, so you ended up with this psyche. And so now basically you pray that I can get what I want. That's what you pray for. You pray, can I get what I want, and I do not have to do what I don't want. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I said before that it works. Why? You're not praying to God. God has already given you everything. Give me a break. You're given everything. Everything. Your cells in your body, the atoms, the people. You like your husband, he's got cells in his body too. Every single thing is being given at a level that's incomprehensible. That's all the universe is doing, is giving, creating. Unbelievable. But we limited it down to our stupid little self. And that's why I have those kind of prayers. When you pray and you believe, that's where all this comes from, when you pray and you believe that something can help you, it tends to open you. If you believe in God, and I don't use the word belief, okay, because that's of mind, but we'll go there for a moment. If your mind believes there's something greater than you, then when you pray to that, there's an openness that takes place inside of you because you're releasing your burden. You're believing that something can help. And so you're not just getting depressed and holding on to it. When you open like that, light comes in. Because that's what's there. The only reason it's not there is because you're closed. If you open, if something, I said, if you get what you want, it opens you. Well, if you're praying to God and you believe, I believe that this can help me, then that lightens your burden and opens you up. There's hope. And then this light comes inside of you, and it is the light of God. But it's because you opened. Well, what about if somebody's sick and a group of people come together and they pray for healing? Does that work? Yes. Whoa, how does that fit in? Because they believe that they can heal, they were willing to open, they care about somebody else more than themselves. All these things are opening. Light can come up, and light is not limited to you. You feel people's shakti, you feel people's energy. When people are depressed and angry, you feel that, don't you? Energy goes out. So you're building energy, and you're sending it out. The truth of the matter is, if you would get yourself out of the way, it's happening all the time, just like the atoms are happening all the time, just like everything's happening all the time. It's always happening. It's only because you're blocking it that you have to do something that, in essence, helps you unblock yourself. That's what's happening. So I like closing out to tell you, prayer is wonderful. I'm not taking anything away, all right? Belief is wonderful. What do I say about belief? Belief is because your mind doesn't believe. Do you believe there's 2 trillion galaxies all holding themselves together? You believe there's 23 trillion cells inside your body? It's not a new belief. It's truth. It is true, right? That's what everything is. There's nothing to believe in or not believe in. It's only because you closed yourself, and now you're dark and closed, okay? If you let it go, Christ said you must die to be reborn. It's not such a weird talk I'm giving you. That's what it means to die to be reborn, to let go of your personal self, to not get caught and live in that tiny little cage of these thoughts that you created based on your past experiences, what you like and dislike. Why don't you just like the universe? There's a beautiful story, and I'll have to close down. There's a great master, one of my favorite, Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna, very, very high being, very high. At 6 years old, he would walk through the rice paddy fields with the women. He was a little 6-year-old boy. He would see a flock of birds, egrets, flying against the dark sky. It was the monsoon season. He'd pass out. He was falling into samadhi at 6 years old. You know how it can take your breath away, the beauty of nature? It took his breath away, all right? Literally. And he fell back into God at that age, and it was throughout his entire life. He had this state, all right? High dude. Very, very high dude. Basically, what you find out is that your energy is always there, just like his is. He didn't have that ego problem that we have, and therefore he was able to go in these states naturally. He lived in these states. So did Christ. So did all the great masters. And you're capable of that. But you have to be willing to let go of your mind. You have to be willing to let go. Mayor Baba said, man minus mind equals God. You have to be willing to die to be reborn. That's where we left with Christ. So basically you come down. How do you do this? You will see every moment of your life that your mind is talking about you. It's talking about what it wants and what it doesn't want. You have to learn to let that go. You don't renouncing. You don't renounce. You don't deny the world. You don't deny yourself. You just realize, I am the consciousness that is watching this mind block me. It blocks me. Do you really only want to be happy when you get what you want? Well, what about the rest of the time? It's not so good. And so you basically just little by little keep letting go. You let go. It comes up and it says, I don't want it to rain today. Who are you? That's what you should say to you. Who do I think I am? There's a whole universe that's made. And there's meteorology, and the farmers need it to rain. What do you mean you don't want it to rain? But it does that, doesn't it? It does it all the time. It's hot. It's hot. Well, it's a good thing there's a star out there shining on you, because otherwise we'd all freeze. But it's not exactly the temperature I like. I like it between 68 and 72, below 50% humidity, and not too much wind. A little bit. I don't. Do you really want to be like that? Because you're ruining your life. You're making it so that if the temperature is cold, the temperature is hot, you're not happy. If it's windy, you're not happy. If it's humid, you're not happy. You have frizzy hair. Well, how about, I don't like frizzy hair. Why? It's what the hair does. It's atoms. Next time you don't like frizzy hair, I want you to go to a physicist and say, what exactly is the frizziness? and look at it through a microscope and be amazed how the atoms behave and the molecules bond and why humidity changes it. Wow! And the next time it happens, well, this is like God. Wow, it's neat. That's what you would be with everything. But instead, you take these personal preferences and you sit there and say, they're my God. They're my God. There's these things I like and these things I don't like. And if they're the way I want, I'm happy. And the way I don't want, I'm really unhappy. If they're really not the way I want, I get depressed. All right? And so you do this thing called work on yourself. You just start letting go. Here, it's going to come up. It's going to say what I like. Give her a little kiss and head. Bye-bye. Don't get into it. Don't buy into it. You're the holiest person ever walked the face of the earth. You're completely filled with love and bliss and ecstasy. You're blocking it with this stuff. What do the third Zen patriarchs say? I always quote you that. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. The great way, enlightenment, Buddha, the great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. In other words, all these things you made up in your mind about what you're basically saying with your preferences is as follows. I'm only happy if this happens. And I'm miserable if that happens. Those are your preferences. Thin out. Work with it. Keep letting go. You're going to have preferences. It's fine. It's fine. Notice the effect they have. They have the effect that if the world happens to unfold in the way that matches your preferences, you get to feel Shakti. And if the world doesn't match it, you get disappointed. If it matches what you don't want, you get really upset and angry. And that's what's causing everything. So why don't you sit there and understand, just like all the atoms take care of themselves, and you don't have to worry about it. Just like all the stars and the galaxies take care of themselves, you don't have to worry about it. There will come a time in your growth you will never think about yourself ever again. Why? Because there's too much joy going on inside. Because it seems to take care of itself just fine. Different things happen and you're fine. The hair gets frizzy. I like frizzy hair. It's cold out. I love the cold. I get to bundle up. I love bundling up. It's really hot out. Oh, it's neat. I told you what I think what happens when it's hot out. I think about that star 93 million miles away. That's a long way away. And you feel the heat here and you're complaining? You should be in awe. It's unbelievable. The question I ask people is, Miami's what, 300 miles away, 350, something like that, right? How big would a fire have to be in Miami for you to feel the heat up here? Don't even bother thinking about it. If the entire city caught fire all at once, you would not feel a single thing up here. That thing's 93 million miles away, and you're complaining that you feel its sunshine? Give me a break. The problem is not the world. The problem is your mind, what you've done with your mind. So what you do is you work with yourself. It's not renunciation. You're not giving anything up. You're getting everything. So that's the path. And now we're talking about prayer. We talked about that. When you are clean inside, even reasonably, nobody's perfectly. When you're reasonably clean inside, I'm telling you, you don't have to think about love. You don't have to think about energy. You don't have to think about anything. It's all there. It's natural. It's your natural state. That's what Shakti is. That's what spirit is. That's what chi is. There's so much. It's infinite. How about that? You have infinite energy inside of you, but you're blocking it. So if you don't block it, you don't have to think about these things. You'll never think about love again for the rest of your life. There's so much love pouring through you. That is your natural state. Just like all those other things we talked about before are the natural way of being. Your natural way of being is Satchidananda, eternal conscious ecstasy. If it's not that way, it's because you blocked yourself. So what's the answer? If you're having trouble being sick because you're smoking, stop smoking. If you're having trouble not feeling love, you're having trouble not feeling high, having trouble not enjoying your life, stop blocking your energy. And you'll never think about anything ever again. All right? There's a story, Ramakrishna's closest disciple was Swami Vivekananda, which you should know his name. He was the first enlightened master to come to America. And his name was Nadan before he became Vivekananda. And he lived at ashram for a while with the master, and there was no father to the household, and his mother was alone with the brother, sister, whatever it is. And so he told the master, he told Ramakrishna, I have to go back into the world, and I have to earn money to support my family. And the master blessed him and said, of course, you go do that, all right? But he couldn't get a job. And Vivekananda was brilliant. He was something else. He started the Vedanta Society, you may have heard of, phenomenal being. But he couldn't get a job. There was no work. And so he went to the master, and he knew who Ramakrishna was. He'd felt the energy. He'd seen the greatness of this being. And he said, Ramakrishna used to worship Kali. That was the goddess of that ashram. And he said, well, Ramakrishna, I know you don't do it, Master, but I know you love me, and you know I'm trying hard. I'm trying to do the right thing. Could you intercede? Could you ask the Divine Mother, not for anything, just to get me a job? I'll work. I'll do it. Pretty clean stuff, right? And Ramakrishna said, no, I can't do that, but you can. You can ask her. Just go down, cross the garden, and go into the temple where there was a murti, and ask her. I'm sure she'll listen. You know, you've been doing real sadhana and hard work and so on. And the story goes, and it's been told by multiple people, that Vivekananda went down, and as the closer he got to the temple, he felt all the Shakti, he felt all the emanation of unbelievable God, right, that happens when you worship God. He shows up there. And he went in, and as he went in, he forgot what he was there for, and he felt so much devotion and overwhelming bliss. He just said, Divine Mother, please teach me to have the devotion that I should be feeling for you. I don't know, I'm so embarrassed that I can't feel. I should feel tremendous love and bliss and give everything to you. Please help me with that level of devotion. He's crying, and he came back intoxicated. It's a true story. Intoxicated, he walks into the room where the Master was, and immediately Ramakrishna said, did you ask her? And he goes, what? Oh, no, I got... He said, go back and ask her. And apparently this happened 3 times. And he couldn't ask. It never happened. Hear me? That's what I told you. How does a yogi pray? A great being. Teach me to love you the way you should be loved. Teach me to let go of myself so that I'm filled with your ecstasy and filled with your being and can shine that light out to everybody naturally. There, that's a prayer, isn't it? That's a prayer. Jai Gurudev.